President Cyril Ramaphosa has recently signed the administrative adjudication of road traffic offences, or Aarto Bill, into law. The bill proposes the introduction of a demerit system for South African drivers, and it's expected to fundamentally change driving in the country. A few insurance service providers have suggested that this new bill might have harsh effects on the insurance industry, one of them being the suspension of motorist licenses that could most likely increase insurance premiums or excess as for South African drivers and for South African drivers in general. Old Mutual Insure insurance expert Christelle Colman joins us now via Skype. A very good morning to you. What have been the conversations around industry in terms of the effects of this bill?
I think I would like to start by saying that the intention behind this bill is good, and it's something that we embrace. Specifically as Old Mutual Insure, we have huge problems on our roads in South Africa with unlicensed drivers, unlicensed vehicles, very bad road conditions. So whatever the authorities are planning to implement to improve this is welcomed. The challenges, I think, are what many are concerned about is about the effective implementation of such a sort of holistic change that's potentially coming our way. But from an insurance company perspective, in a specific insurance perspective, there's something that I need to, I would like to raise. So we have two aspects. We have the issue around the impact on premium and on claims. Now, first and foremost, when it comes to claims, at the moment, as things stand, if you don't have a valid driver's license or your vehicle isn't licensed, insurance companies are within their rights to reject your claim, and they do. So there's nothing really changing around that. You would still be required to have a valid driver's license. What is changing, of course, is the complexity around how you manage your driving behavior and your driving license. And then when it comes to the concern or the conversation around premium impact, again, we would like to take a more positive sort of outlook on this conversation, because the majority of people on the South African roads are good drivers, are people who adhere to the laws of the road. And if you expect a negative impact on premium, with other words, premium increases for poor driving behavior, definitely you would be able to have the other side of the conversation, which is, are we going to be rewarding good driving behavior? And that's definitely something that will be considered as well.
Talking about the possibility of premium increases, but the law is talking about the possibility of scrapping a license altogether. Where do those two conversations meet?
So, it's just a quick recap of how they propose it's going to work. You can get 12 points against your name. When you switch, go over to 13, your license is then invalidated. And you have 3 chances to go over the 12-point mark. And then you lose your license completely. The reality is insurance is there not just for motor vehicle accidents, but also for theft and fire and all those things. So your policy will respond if you have a valid driver's license. If it's invalidated while you were driving the car, your policy won't pay out. But of course, it will still pay out for theft and for fire and all those kind of things. So for me, the sort of biggest challenge here is around consumer awareness. People need to understand going forward, if you get that ticket, if you don't display your license correctly or your registration plates, or if you drive recklessly and you get the points, that you can't go, I didn't know, and say to your insurance company, I didn't know. Because the proposal is that we will have much better communication around our driving records. They will use electronic media like WhatsApp and email, and you will know if you've stepped over the line and your license is invalidated. And at that point in time, it's very important to make contact with your insurance company and understand what is your specific insurance company's stance on having an invalidated driver's license. I can tell you now that they will tell you your cover has been affected and that you won't have cover for accidents if you are the driver behind the wheel. But always very important to have that on record with your insurer and then to manage that situation.
I sat up and took notice there as you said that, because I was like, okay, these are the impacts that we're talking about. So is it in law yet that if your license becomes invalidated, insurance will not pay out, even though you have been paying premiums?
So, yes, well, it's actually not. It's, your insurance policy is a legal contract between yourself and the insurance company, and that contract stipulates that you must have a valid driver's license in order for the insurance policy to pay out. So that's already in place, and it's contracted like that. It's similar to when your child gets his learner's license and he drives and he has an accident without someone next to him, not a valid driver's license, insurance policy won't pay out. It's just going to become a lot more difficult to hide behind your traffic offences going forward, because they're proposing a system that will track your, when you overstepped the line when it comes to traffic offences. It will keep track of it. Of course, you can claw back on your record. So every 3 months where you don't have an offence, you gain 1 point again. So it's a system of give and take, and it's important to understand that this system is something that is widely implemented, specifically in Europe. It works very well. My personal concern is around our ability, our authorities, to implement the system effectively. I also think it potentially opens up the back door for fraudulent activities, because will you be able to bribe an official to get your record cleaned up? Those are the sort of things that only time will tell how it will work. But in essence, this is a positive message. It's a positive push towards improving the safety on our roads and bringing down the number of deaths. And then, of course, you have to be very careful around your insurance and how you manage that when your driver's license has been invalidated. Interesting, if you look at the number of points, the highest points that you can lose is 6 points, for instance, if you drive recklessly. Now, if we think about those individuals who are overstepping the boundaries on the national roads, driving in the yellow lines, those people have to be worried. People who adhere to the laws of the road must see this as a positive move to improve road safety.
So, as your company's response to this becoming law eventually, what will you be saying to your clients about behavioral change?
Well, absolutely. You have to, first of all, understand what the legal implications are when you drive recklessly, if your license is invalidated. And number two, it is go on record the minute that your license has been suspended. Contact your insurance company and understand what it is, what will happen. I would assume that if this does come into law, your license has been invalidated and you won't be using your vehicle to drive with, that you then perhaps consider reducing the cover and you don't pay the full premium. For instance, to say that you're only then covered for third-party fire and theft while your car is parked in the garage, and that you use the saving from the insurance premium perhaps to use a taxi service and not drive without a license, because it's going to become really, really serious business in South Africa. And if you take a chance and you cause an accident, you will be liable for your own damages if you don't have a valid driver's license.
And what impacts will there be in terms of how you set out your contracts? There's going to have to be changes there, I imagine.
No, because at the moment already our contract clearly stipulates that you must have a valid driver's license. So that's already a number one insurance requirement. If you submit a claim for a motor accident, you must have a valid driver's license, and your vehicle must be licensed. So that's already contained in the contract. I don't foresee any big legal changes in our contracts. But I think what will change, I'm sorry about that. What will change going forward is perhaps the way that we price our risks. And what is an interesting thing to consider is already insurance companies use driving behavior to price risks. These telematics units that get installed in vehicles that track the number of kilometers and whether you do harsh braking, harsh cornering, or all those things get taken into account, and good drivers pay less. It's not an official stance, but I do foresee in years to come, as the system matures, that from a rating perspective, that we will be able to take that into consideration and reward good driving, and of course bad driving will be a negative impact on insurance premiums into the future.
You say that it's a good initiative. What kind of driving will we be seeing on our roads in future as a result of the enactment of this bill?
Well, if you look at the point system, what is interesting is they look at things like reckless driving. So there's two things that you can get 6 points for, which is half of your allocated points. The one is reckless driving. So that is driving in the yellow line, speeding where you're not supposed to speed. And we all know how we, battle with those individuals on the road. And then something else is if you exceed the speed limit by 40 kilometers an hour, so driving over 100 kilometers an hour in a 60 kilometer zone, also 6 points. So I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to enforce the rules of the road on individuals and keeping a record of that. I personally believe because we have a reckless attitude on our roads in South Africa, people take massive chances and it causes these big accidents. And I really do believe that in time to come, if the system is implemented correctly, those of us who are good road users will see a benefit of improved driving conditions on the road. And of course, another problem that we have in South Africa is huge number of unlicensed drivers and unlicensed vehicles. And I do foresee that the authorities will be acting more harshly on those individuals. And then finally, we almost sort of live in a world of bliss. Ignorance is bliss. We get a parking ticket and it never comes back. It's not enforced. With this new system, all those parking tickets, speeding tickets, tickets for unlicensed vehicles will add up against your name. And I think it will drive action by the individual to rectify it because they will be concerned about losing their driver's license. It's serious business.
Thank you so much for talking to us this morning.